Protecting wildlife isn't just about goodwill. It's a costly, complex mission that drains millions from governments, non-profits, and conservationists around the world. Some species demand especially high resources, not just because they're rare, but because keeping them alive takes a relentless fight against poaching, habitat loss, disease, and political instability. At the top of the list is the giant panda. Native to China, the panda has long been the poster child for endangered species. But behind the cuddly face lies an astronomical conservation budget. China spends over $1 million annually on each panda in captivity. Their specialized bamboo diet, low reproductive rate, and dependence on human-managed habitats make them incredibly expensive to maintain. Even renting a panda to a foreign zoo costs about $1 million per year, not including care costs. Next is the northern white rhino, a species hanging on by a thread with only 2 individuals left, both female. The last male, Sudan, died in 2018, but conservationists are racing to resurrect the species through in vitro fertilization using stored sperm and surrogate southern white rhinos. The cost of this pioneering reproductive science, along with 24/7 armed security to guard the 2 surviving rhinos from poachers, pushes the conservation price tag into the tens of millions. And it's not just the biology. Every step has to be politically and ethically navigated in Kenya and the Democratic Republic of Congo, where decades of instability have turned rhino horns into a black market goldmine. Similarly burdened is the Amur leopard, one of the rarest big cats in the world. Native to the Russian Far East and parts of China, fewer than 120 are believed to remain in the wild. Conservation for the Amur leopard involves anti-poaching patrols, habitat restoration, prey population management, and cross-border cooperation between Russia and China. Add satellite tracking, captive breeding programs, and forest fire prevention, and the costs spiral quickly. One major organization spends over $20,000 annually just tracking a single leopard. But without that data, conservation plans would be blind shots in the dark. Then there's the mountain gorilla, a high-maintenance species living in the volcanic regions of Rwanda, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Protecting them requires both ecological and political effort. Each gorilla troop needs veterinary support, guards to deter poachers, and constant monitoring. The Virunga Mountains, their primary habitat, is an area riddled with conflict, adding military logistics to the conservation budget. Tourists bring money, yes, but also risks, disease transmission, habitat degradation, and stress on the animals. The annual per-gorilla protection cost exceeds $10,000, and that doesn't include broader ecosystem support. The Vaquita, a small porpoise found only in Mexico's Gulf of California, is another high-cost species on the brink of extinction. Fewer than 10 are estimated to remain. Their primary threat is bycatch from illegal gillnets used in totoaba fishing. Conservation efforts include deploying drone surveillance, funding naval patrols, offering fishermen financial alternatives, and investing in net removal operations. Multiple international coalitions have poured millions into this effort, yet the species continues to decline. Each remaining vaquita now represents a multi-million-dollar investment and a desperate hope. Siberian tigers, or Amur tigers, present a similar financial burden. Found mainly in the Russian Far East, they require huge, intact territories, over 500 square miles per adult male. Securing such ranges from deforestation, poachers, and human encroachment demands complex land use negotiations and large-scale monitoring. Each radio collar fitted to a tiger costs thousands, and maintaining protected zones costs millions each year. These tigers are also central to illegal wildlife trade enforcement, which means investments in border security and forensic science. Another species with sky-high conservation costs is the Kakapo, a flightless parrot from New Zealand. There are only around 250 individuals alive today. Each bird is named, tracked, and genetically monitored. Artificial insemination, hand-rearing chicks, and disease control are all standard practices. Breeding occurs only every few years, depending on fruiting cycles of native plants. Conservationists sometimes helicopter pollen between islands to trigger breeding. In 2020 alone, the New Zealand government spent over $500,000 on Kakapo conservation, an enormous figure considering the tiny population. Let's add the Asian elephant to the list. Although they're not quite as rare as some other species, their enormous habitat range, which stretches across several countries, really complicates conservation efforts. These elephants often find themselves in deadly conflict with people over farmland, water and, well, simply space to live. Conservation here means not only tracking and protecting the herds, but also building elephant corridors, compensating farmers for their losses, and training local communities to coexist. In India, just a single project to mitigate elephant conflict can cost millions. And of course, the expenses only rise with medical care for injured elephants, rescue operations, and satellite collaring. Javan rhinos, found only in Indonesia's Ujung Kulon National Park, are another, extremely expensive species to protect. There are fewer than 80 left, and all of them live in just one rather vulnerable location. The park itself needs constant surveillance to guard against illegal activities and to control invasive plants. Rhinos are elusive creatures, requiring remote camera traps, DNA analysis from dung samples, and ongoing habitat improvements. The Indonesian government, with help from international NGOs, spends millions every single year just to keep this one population safe. And well, the idea of moving some rhinos to another site for backup would double the cost instantly. Finally, let's talk about the California condor. Once extinct in the wild, these truly massive birds have made a comeback thanks to one of the most elaborate captive breeding programs ever attempted. Every condor is fitted with a tracking device. Conservationists have to regularly trap them to test for lead poisoning. Still the biggest threat, actually, because of bullet fragments in the carcasses they scavenge. Treating a single poisoned condor can cost thousands. The reintroduction effort now stretches across several US states and indigenous territories, and it needs ongoing education, law enforcement, and ecological monitoring. Since the 1980s, over $40 million has been spent on this program. What all these animals share isn't just their rarity, it's the sheer scale of effort required to keep them alive. Their conservation is not simply about letting nature run its course. It takes science, politics, money, and honestly, an army of people who believe these creatures are worth fighting for, no matter what the cost.